The FN-49 rifle was beautifully made and of the best materials, but this is a gun that had a very short service life.
The Fabrique Nationale SA-49 rifle, semi-automatic rifle that was developed actually before World War II. Dieudonné Saïve, who was a brilliant arms designer, he started working on this back in the 30s as a recoil-operated rifle.
Saïve worked on several recoil-operated guns before finally deciding 1932, 1933, that the best way to do an infantry rifle, and that's a gun firing a full battle cartridge, like the 8mm Mauser, for example, was gas operation. So once he moved into gas operation, by 1936, he had a rifle design. It was patented, and in 1937, it just became known as the self-loading rifle. Development continued until events overcame the country of Belgium.
Saïve fled to the UK along with other Belgian designers and engineers when the Germans invaded Belgium in 1940. Nothing that they brought with them really was immediately usable by the British. The British were in production with the No. 4 rifle, but work continued on the gun, and when Belgium was finally liberated in 1944, Saïve and his co-workers returned to FN, and by then the gun had taken recognizable shape.
In this immediate post-World War II era, not a lot of countries are actually looking for new infantry rifles. You had the Soviet bloc, they'll give you all the Mosin Nagants you want. And then you had the Western Allies. And the United States military was very happy with its U.S. rifle caliber 30 M1. And so the market for these guns ended up being some of the South American countries in particular.
FN decided we're going to market this to those countries that really don't want to be aligned one way or the other. So their big market was to Venezuela, and this was followed up by a large order with Egypt. And then the Belgians themselves, the selective fire version that the Belgians come up with, this also goes over to the Argentinians.
Argentina asked FN to convert an example of a clip-fed 7.65 by 53 millimeter FN-49. Asked FN to convert it to 7.62 by 51, even magazine-fed. And FN responded by doing that, shipped the gun to Argentina, and then the gun was copied there. The conversion was copied there in Argentina, to such an extent that the Argentine Navy FN-49 rifles were converted from stripper clip fed internal 10-round box magazine chambered for 7.65 by 53 to detachable box magazine chambered for 7.62 by 51. And Argentina even came up with a detachable 10-round and then also a detachable 20-round box magazine specifically for that firearm.
So this is a gun that had pretty good success for a very limited market. Most countries were not interested in rearming with infantry rifles in this era. They were waiting for the next big thing. And it turns out the next big thing was the FN-FAL, designed by Saïve. And when you look at an SAFN and an FAL, you'll see that there's an obvious heritage there.
They're fantastic little firearms that also narrate an interesting moment in history. That moment when the transition is occurring between cartridges that were born at the beginning of the 20th century and fought the world wars toward cartridges that will fight the rest of the 20th century and then soldier on into the 21st century. Cartridges like 7.62 by 51 millimeter. And that cartridge is still what Argentina uses to this day.
If you want to know where most FN-49s are, they're in the hands of American collectors. At various times, the nations that adopted the rifle disposed of them through companies like Interarms, and the Colombian guns, the Venezuelan guns, the Luxembourg guns. Most of those, you'll find them out there, but they're in private collections today.